We need your help, Star Fox. Andross has declared war. He's invaded the Lylat System and is trying to take over Corneria. Our army alone can't do the job. Hurry, Star Fox.
Let's rock and roll. It's quiet. Too quiet. Be careful, it's a trap. Use bombs wisely. Do a barrel roll.
Welcome to video game fucking bullshit.
VGBS Podcast time. Get ready for the ride. Tristan and Jeff in the zone. Video games they own.
This is Thor Ackerlund, and welcome to Video Game Bullshit.
This is Master Daniel Facina. Get over here to Video Game Bullshit.
Today, we're flying into the Lylat System for an adrenaline-filled rail shooter experience with Star Fox 64. It's a game that redefines space combat for the Nintendo 64 and introduced the iconic Rumble feature to home consoles. Welcome to Video Game Bullshit. So I'm never going to memorize that shit.
Oh, yeah. I don't expect you to.
But it gave me an intro for our episode.
That's good.
I'm gonna make the intro. So, welcome to the classic format of Video Game Bullshit. We're going to cover some retro game, deep dive, classic bullshit style. And as we alluded to in 146, we are talking about Star Fox 64's The Bullshit Homework.
And we don't blame you if you don't remember that, because that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, well, and we will be a podcast that records cool-ass episodes every once in a while. That's just how we do it. It's how we roll. Now, with this classic format, we're talking just the retro stuff and you know, a little bit of side story and go down the bullshit river as we do. But essentially, Tristan, how you doing for Video Game Bullshit?
I'm doing great, and this assignment that we had for this one was one of my favorites because it's one of my favorite games. I mean, yeah, I chose it, so like I'm not gonna like make myself play crap. Maybe we will. Maybe we should. Maybe we should. We use a really bad game. Oh, what's the worst game VGBS has played?
So, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the Adventures of Batman and Robin on the Sega Genesis. I was calling it Shatman and Throbbin for a while. But it was just because I wanted to play it through fruition, and those levels get long as shit, and it's like a shoot 'em up. It's a bad shoot 'em up at certain, and it just goes on and on and
Oh boy.
But I mean, we've played Renegade on the NES, Target Renegade. It's even worse because Renegade itself is cool. Target Renegade is like the Wish version of Renegade. Like it's like so many. But the thing is, in classic bullshit fashion, we'll find some positive with the negative and have fun with it. So,
Yep.
but yeah, today though is the awesome Star Fox 64. And, you know, going through it, we can talk about, you know, how we played it, how far we got, what we did. But in classic VGBS fashion, we need to lay the wallpaper
Yes.
on what the game is about. So, Star Fox 64 is a 3D rail shooter and aerial combat game. Players take control of Fox McCloud and his team, which is Falco, Peppy, and Slippy, piloting the R-Wing to save the Lylat System from the evil Andross. Game was called Lylat in Europe, by the way. Not Lylat Wars, not Star Fox 64. The game features branching paths on rails, shooting, and free flight modes when you're like fighting. Usually when you're fighting like bosses or, you know, when you're fighting the Star Wolf guys.
Range mode.
All range mode and the innovative use of squad communication as they all talk shit to you.
It's the best.
Yeah. Do a barrel roll. Story synopsis: the game follows Fox McCloud as he leads the Star Fox team to confront Andros, a mad scientist banished to the planet Venom. Along the way, the team battles iconic enemies like Star Wolf and saves planets in the Lylat System. The key selling points for this game back in the day: revolutionary voice acting in a Nintendo game. Introduction of the Rumble Pak, actually came packaged with the Rumble Pak. Creating a new standard for immersion within video games. Your head now rumbles. And then a mix of rail shooter and open combat mechanics that encourage repetitivity through branching paths. Because as you go through the map, you can go to different levels. And then the game was released in 1997 on the N64. It was a follow-up to the Super Nintendo Star Fox, and the one that was released on the Super Nintendo Mini, Star Fox 2. And then there was a 3DS remake with enhanced visuals, with sharper textures and 3D visuals, as well as an optional motion controls for aiming and an expert mode for veteran players, which is awesome. The 3DS version does introduce quality of life upgrades like saving after each stage, so you don't have to play it in a single arcade style like you did in the N64 version, and smoother frame rates, but it does lack the rumble feature. I don't know if you knew that they removed the damn rumble feature from the 3DS version.
We'll get to that. I missed very much.
Nice. So that is laying the wallpaper. So how, Tristan, did you play it? And then I'll talk about how I played it, just how we played it, not where we got.
So I did play it on the 3DS, and I actually played it in 3D mode the entire time at the suffering of my eye. I'm not young. I don't have young people eyes, and I've got a very strong prescription. So my eyes were like wrecked and like tearing by the time I got to Andros and beat him.
Well, and it's not like you just sneezed and hurt yourself or anything.
Oh no, who would do that? Yeah.
So I played mine a different way since I don't have Nintendo 64 with me or anything. So I played this game first and foremost. I played the original, emulated through Retrobat on my Lenovo Legion Go on a giant TV. So emulation.
Yep.
But I also played the 3DS version on the Citra emulator. But because my Legion Go is a touchscreen handheld, kind of like a Switch, the first screen was like the bottom screen on the 3DS, and the top screen was a giant 55-inch 4K TV that I played this game on, so I could do all the touchscreen stuff on the 3DS. Now, the emulation on Citra is not perfect, and two of the boss battles, including the damn Andros fight, go upside downs and inverses all the controls.
You told me about that. Oh gosh.
And so I didn't quite. I was able to beat the fire boss. Like when you fight the fire boss, that one was upside down. But I was not able to beat Andros because I just couldn't get used to the damn. I had versed them like 3-4 times, and I just kept on dying, and I was getting worse because it's like the controls are backward. Like unless I like lay upside down and try to play the damn thing, like. But like, so this is a classic game, though. I don't know how much history do you have with it, Tristan, from back in the day on the N64?
So I'm going to go even further back before the N64 because I was a Star Fox fan since Star Fox. I actually played in the Star Fox Super Weekend and did terrible. But at my software, etc., I got that little like participation pin. Yeah, and yes, that nice the thumbs up bubble. But yeah, I got to play Star Fox Super Weekend, and I loved that game. I mean, it was unlike anything that you could ever play. It had that Super FX chip and whatever. So whenever it was ported, I mean, well, not really ported, but it really was kind of a port and a reboot onto the N64. I was all about it. I was from day one. I mean, I was a Nintendo Power subscriber, so I got that VHS tape also. That they sent people to like preview and like show off the Rumble Pak and like what Star Fox 64 was all about. So, but it came out, I was super hyped. I was super hyped to play it. Love that game. Love it.
Well, and like, what was cool about that era, and also sad but cool, was the N64 was the classic Nintendo console where it was famine. There wasn't no feast or famine. It was famine on the N64.
Yes.
Because, like, I was a rental dude, but by the time N64 came out, I was already working, and, I was in high school. And when it came out, like, so I got Mario 64 with my console. I got, like, the last one in the Toys R Us for the Nintendo 64. And then, I waited and finally, got, like, Wave Race and got as the games would come out. So when Star Fox 64 came out, I was chomping at the bit to play something new. I wanted to play anything. And I had only rented the original Star Fox like one time, and I thought it was okay. I didn't really get into it, but I was fully immersed and went crazy with Star Fox 64 because it was the only game that I had. I bought it. I saved that money, and bought it. So I played the shit out of that game. I played through every branching path. I played through all the stuff, found all the little secrets, found all the different things of Star Fox 64, and it was such a fun experience. And I will tell you, fast forwarding to playing it now in, my twilights, my mid-age, I was not as good anymore on the N64 version. Like, those quality of life improvements on the 3DS are very appreciated.
Yeah, I do enjoy like the extra controls that you have on the touch screen, and then like the map that you get in the orange mode that you don't have, like obviously in the N64. It's very helpful, but I mean, you do have a map, but it's very small. Yeah, dude, like playing that, and I purposely 3D really doesn't add anything to the experience. It is a cool little gimmick, but like, yeah, you have to like keep it in the sweet spot, especially if you don't have a new 3DS that like kind of drags your eyes. You have to like keep it still, and that's what I had to do the entire time. And playing a space shooter, you're like inclined to kind of move with it, and that's not very good for playing Star Fox for sure. Yeah, but dude, it's so good. And like I kind of wish that I would have gone and played it on the N64 because I don't really remember like if there's a frame rate difference between that and 3D. There
is.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's much more because it's more rudimentary. And the thing is, I'm playing them both with the same controller configuration with the Legion Go. But the thing is because of the quality of life improvements on the 3DS, I would go like level to level, and I would lose like one of my team members because as you're playing through the game, you have your 3 team members that help you out, and if you don't properly protect them, they'll get taken out and they'll be in the back getting repaired for 1 or 2 levels that they don't assist you with, which affects how the on-rails level progresses or affects how you're fighting the enemies. I would take a lot more damage too. Whereas when I'm going through the 3DS, it's almost like with kid gloves on. It's almost easy because I never lost a team member all the way up to Andros. I barely lost any damage, and anytime I did, there's more health pickups in the 3DS version too. So it lends itself to being a lot easier to play, which I think is why they made the expert
mode. Yeah, gotta be.
It's got to be why they added that, because now it's the same thing that they did when they re-released Super Mario RPG, which is a previous episode, on Switch. Yeah. They did so many quality of life improvements. They made the game very, very easy to the point where
it broke the balance. It completely broke it. Yeah.
And so now I'm not saying that this one broke Star Fox 64's balance, because the game was pretty challenging in the original. You had to play as like a classic arcade game. You had to play over and over again in order to get good at the game. So it's not necessarily that the game was broken, but more so that like it's now easy to just pick up and play.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's actually like a great descriptor of that game. It's so easy to pick up and play. And that's why it's so much fun, because it's natural. It's a natural game. It's not hard to play. It's hard to master, but it's easy to play.
Ooh, look at this light that's in my face, right?
You tell us a ghost story.
We can go a little ghost stories. We could talk either historical, we could talk a little bit of gameplay. For N64. So the gameplay pieces, it was a benchmark for 3D visuals for the N64 with the cinematic pieces and the massive boss fights. The distinctive art style balances the realism and the cartoonish charm. So because you had like, the Fox characters, the story itself, they had like a lot of back and forth and helped like develop the story, which you didn't get with the original Star Fox. It says here that the game was originally programmed or developed as Star Fox 2, but Star Fox 2 was actually released, so I don't know how
I read a little bit more into that. Yeah, it's kind of true because so they about 90% of Star Fox 64 is elements that were taken from both Star Fox and Star Fox 2, and then the rest of it was like added on to finish out Star Fox 64. So like the reason Star Fox 2 didn't come out is because they used so much of Star Fox 2 and Star Fox 64.
I know also like they wanted to transition away from the 3D on the Super Nintendo because the 64 is now programmed. Didn't want to create brand confusion.
Well, yeah, it was timing too because like the PlayStation and Saturn at that point had come out and they needed to compete.
Yeah. So obviously Shigeru Miyamoto was the leader of Nintendo DAD at the time, headed this game. Koji Kondo did the memorable score in the game.
Yes, he did.
One interesting trivia point is that the Japanese version with the vocals is a little more serious than the US version. Like apparently it's a more serious tone because the voice lines are altered. That's an interesting piece. So the other thing is too is with the N64, it was the introduction of analog controls for Nintendo. So this did fully utilize the analog control scheme, and modern controllers don't properly get the pull of the N64 controller, right? So playing that on emulation is never quite perfect, whereas the reprogrammed one on the 3DS using that Circle Pad Pro or whatever you use is much more conducive to modern controls playing with it with emulation. So it actually controls a lot better on the 3DS.
Oh yeah, I feel like that too. And speaking of those analog controls, so like during development, let's see, 3D programming, they were creating something completely different. They didn't have the final N64 hardware while they were making this, nor did they have the analog controller. So they were actually using a modified Super NES controller to play this game. Yeah,
that's why the pitch is so weird,
which is so nuts. Like, I can't imagine.
It's so crazy. So from a personal aspect, I put a couple notes here for myself. I don't know, but this is like the first time I ever experienced Rumble, with the Rumble Pak when I got the game, and that tactile feedback was interesting. Even though it was just like in your hand, it felt like you were like part of the game.
Well, yeah, I mean, any more immersion in those days, and this is before DualShock. DualShock was like a successor. Like Sony followed up after like Nintendo put out that Rumble feedback because it was so popular. I mean, it's an awesome idea, and obviously, like it hasn't gone away. It's only like evolved from there. So, like Nintendo, as always, like innovates and does this thing that just is amazing, and they did it first. As far as I know, I don't think there's any other commercial like video game from a game console that had Rumble feedback before that.
So because this game was programmed specifically for, because you had back in the day the Interact, the one you put on your back.
But that's after the fact, yeah.
That like basically electrocutes you when there's bass.
Sure.
But but they definitely had like Rumble with that, but that was not. This was the first time I feel like games were programmed with the Rumble in mind,
I believe it is,
as a console feature. So another like memorable thing for me, and it was an interesting one. So the Battle of Katina, it reminded me very much so, because I'm old, back in the day, Independence Day, and when they're fighting all the damn aliens on the like that, literally that battle, because you're literally going around and flying, and I'm pretty sure that's when you fight Star Wolf too, and you're going through, And that really did remind me of like when like the battle in Independence Day.
Well, yeah, so it actually has some references to it. There was a General William Gray in the game. No, yeah, exactly. Bill Gray is in Star Fox, and then General William Gray is actually in the movie. So yeah, there it is definitely a like homage. The same as like let's see, there were call outs to Star Wars films, including space fleet battles, character personalities, and scenarios.
If you think about it, like when you were escaping from the base, that means like Star Wars, like Return of the Jedi at the end when you're escaping the Death Star at the end.
And then Sector Y is supposed to be an homage to Mobile Suit Gundam, with like all those like flying robots and stuff. Like they even call out like certain names and have like color schemes that match up with the anime. Yeah. So I mean, it's no coincidence. They actually did that.
Well, the interesting thing is that I didn't start watching like anime or Gundam shit till college later, so I wouldn't have got those references at the time. Even looking back, I didn't quite catch those references, but it makes sense that they would be in there because some of those developers, I'm sure, were like anime fans.
Yeah. There were a couple other things that I'd made note of. Yeah, so there are over 700 voice samples, for the radio chatter between Fox and the MEs and his teammates. And then you mentioned the Japanese version. I didn't know that about like the more serious tone that they take with the dialogue, but the PAL version actually gives you an option to like put it in the spoken language of the original Star Fox. So it's just that like chatter,
Oh, really?
instead of actual words, it's like that. Yeah, in the PAL version.
That's cool.
I didn't know that.
And the Lylat Wars. So one thing is we definitely want to do a call to listeners. What are your favorite Star Fox 64 memories? We definitely want to hear from you, whether you do it in the Spotify app, you leave a voice on Anchor, send a message, whatever, shoot us an email, hit us up on Discord, on Patreon, because there's a Patreon. Definitely hit us up with your favorite Star Fox memories, because this game is an excellent game, and in classic bullshit fashion, we need to give it a grade, Tristan.
Yes. It's easy for me. I mean,
Yeah, what is
okay. So I think it's going to get knocked just a percentile, just because it like threw in a water level that I think was completely unnecessary. I hate water levels. In any game, I hate water levels, so it gets an A- for me. If it didn't have a water level.
And now, is this specifically the 3DS remake of Star Fox 64?
No, it's just like Star Fox 64 in general. I mean, like adding a game. I'm not talking about like, one versus the other. I mean, as a game, I think it gets a solid A- for its time. It's amazing. It holds up to this day when like 95% of the N64 library does not hold up against other games. Like I would not go back and play like 95% of the N64 library, but I would go back and play that one.
Interesting. So, from my perspective, like the 3DS version is in that A-. I'm with you there. I agree. But the original one, I would knock it down a little extra peg just because it doesn't quite hold up as well as the 3DS version does now. Because 3DS version's old as shit too now, man. We're just old. Like so.
Give out 2011.
So like we put that one as a B+. We'll give it into the B+ for the Star Fox 64. Yeah, definitely interesting to say that like there are only a handful of games that I would go back and play on the N64, and usually they're the staples of the console, and this one is a staple. So now what are your thoughts as we close out the Star Fox 64? What are your thoughts of Star Fox Zero and it being a spiritual successor? Like
I would say frustration because like, Star Fox was such a popular game. Everyone loves the game. I mean, like, I would be hard pressed to find someone who doesn't like it, right? That being said, Star Fox 64. I mean, Star Fox is a franchise. Like it just doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And I know that Metroid fans kind of feel the same way, but Metroid fans have actually got some scraps here and there. But Star Fox fans, we got Zero, we got our hopes up, and you're talking about that is the one on the Wii U, correct? Yeah. And then like it's an amazing game with piss poor controls, almost impossible to play. It's the frustration of the controls undoes everything that game tried to do. And that it's frustrating as hell because like it was a functional game that I would have enjoyed had it not shoved that control scheme down your throat.
Well, and like that one's more of like to me, it was a spiritual successor. They just used the gimmickry of the Wii U incorrectly. Like it just made the game it made the game not fun to play, really.
It was a game. Yeah, it was a terrible
gimmickry. Because the thing is that we had like 3-ish games after 64, after the 3DS. Like in between there, we had Star Fox Assault on the DS. Star Fox Assault on the GameCube, Star Fox Command on the DS, and then you had the Adventure Zelda style, which was really Dinosaur Planet on the N64, ported to the GameCube. But so Assault was like as close as we were gonna get on the GameCube. But then Zero came out like, oh, this is perfect. Now, if it didn't have that damn gimmickry, it would have been amazing.
It feels like if, say, like PlayStation 5, like when Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out, they're like, no, sorry, you have to use the Move controllers. Sorry. Like,
yeah, I get for like they want you to look away from the TV to look down here and continually do this as your plan. It's a shoot. And I'm like, but I got to fly too. It's almost like it was meant for two people.
Just let me play it the way I want to play it. Gosh damn.
Yeah.
What?
So there is rumors that we may get Star Fox Zero on Switch 2 in the future. And so if that happens, removes all the gimmickry, we could potentially be in for a really awesome treat, especially if they do it like the Star Fox 64 to the 3DS port of Star Fox 64, where they do a little bit of more approachability in there. They add some more modes. I think that would be the ultimate way. And if we're really lucky with that, they put Star Fox 64 on there too.
That'd be cool.
Dude,
or something. That'd be amazing.
That would be perfect.
Yeah, because I mean, it's been almost 30 years since Star Fox 64 came out, which I would arguably say is like the last really good Star Fox.
Yeah, because the other ones like cut out some features, and this weren't a full Star Fox game or added a gimmick that made it unapproachable. But I think that does cover the bullshit homework, which is what Video Game Bullshit Classic is, which is awesome. It's supposed to be short, fun, crazy ass episodes, talking deep dive on our personal experiences. But what are we doing for the next episode? I know, Tristan, you had an idea.
I do. So, like, going forward, instead of like one of us picking the other, I want both of us to pick a retro game, and then both of us kind of like decide here live without knowing the other person's pick which one that we want to do next week.
Nice.
Or next episode, excuse me.
Next episode. Yeah, definitely not next week. Next episode. Because
it might be next week. It might be next week.
Depends if we can get through it. But yeah, so I came up with one off the top of my head, and I know you got one prepped.
Mine's actually a twofer. You'll see why it's a twofer. But so I don't have my original PlayStation version anymore, but they did re-release it on PlayStation 4 in Japan and digitally in the US. But it's Parappa the Rapper.
The original Parappa the Rapper.
And I'm Jammer Lammy.
Interesting. Yeah, because I got some history with Parappa the Rapper. Don't have history with Jammer Lammy.
Oh, really? Oh, I think it's way better. I love Jammer.
I've heard.
It's fun.
And there's Parappa the Rapper too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and then there's the PSP version of Parappa the Rapper too.
And so PlayStation 2 in Japan, there was this demo disc that McDonald's did with Sony that had Parappa the Rapper 2 and Ape Escape. and it had McDonald's branding all over the game in the demo. Yeah.
Crazy shit. But so that's the one you chose. So the one that I would recommend that we play that we haven't done a bullshit homework on yet, Kid Chameleon on the Sting and Genesis.
Okay, yeah, screw those games. I love Kid Chameleon. Let's play
And
that.
a little history of Kid Chameleon. Kyle and I used the theme song, the title theme of Kid Chameleon, as our intro theme for Midwest Gaming Classic for a panel. We literally came out to it because they had a DJ one year when it was still in the original hotel. They had a DJ there, the guy who ran Monster Jam, who still works with Dan Lucen from Midwest Gaming, and he played the song, and we came out to it as we're in the middle of a hotel lobby at the bar. Like, we literally came out and did our panel to freaking Kid Chameleon, and we have not.
And I would have recognized it. That was a game that I rented a lot and finally purchased at some point.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a classic year. That's the same year.
I mean, they were competing. They were, like everyone's doing these like badass mascots, and then like they come out with Kid Chameleon. It's like, oh, let's do all these awesome rad power ups, and that's that game. That's what Kid Chameleon is.
And that was the same year that I released and sold MilesCon and the Kami Killer cartridges, the custom NES homebrew cartridges. The MilesCon, I think, only has 6 copies available that I ever released. Yeah. That's one that classic Ferris Bueller from Nintendo Age never has been able to find a copy, at least till the last time I talked to him. He still asked me for one, and I'm like, I only made 6, and I gave it to people that were part of the story, including Miles.
Hey, this is actually a good tie-in. Christian Dietering, Ferris Bueller, who you were just talking about, he was my secret Santa in that collector group, and he actually gave me a Star Fox pin, like a new Bullsh. Yeah, like still sealed and everything.
Yeah, I didn't do the Secret Santa at this time for any of that stuff. I just kind of hung out this year. But yes, and somebody got the effeminate boy from that Christian started. There was a picture of an effeminate boy or girl, we don't know. That it's passed around with the Nintendo Age Secret Santa every year.
Interesting.
Yeah, I haven't done that one. Yeah, there's a few that I haven't been a part of in a while.
I love Christian. Love that guy.
Craziness. Crazy Secret Santas. But yeah, so that definitely does it for this episode of Video Game Bullshit. So we're gonna do Kid Chameleon.
Kid Chameleon for sure. Yes. Great suggestion.
Kid Chameleon for the bullshit homework. I'll probably be playing it on the Analog Pocket, but on
I'm gonna play it on my Laser Active actually.
Hell yeah. It'd be awesome. Honestly, if I had a copy of the game or an EverDrive, I could play it on my Nomad. I have my Nomad here that's modded, but I don't have a copy of the game. I might have an EverDrive sitting over there though. Let's see what's the actual.
I've got something for you. Speaking of Nomad, I actually have a carrying case for the Nomad. Yeah, I was gonna get rid of, so I don't have my Nomad anymore. So I'm gonna send that to you.
I have one. But yeah, I have to see because I have a modded Nomad and a modded Turbo Express, and both of them have the backlit mods, and then they have the rechargeable batteries. One of them, I don't know where the charger is. So I need to find out if that's the Nomad or the Express. If it's the Nomad and I have an EverDrive, I'm going to play Kid Chameleon classic style.
Hell yeah.
If not, I'm going to play it on my Analog Pocket just so I can play it because... I mean, there's other options too, playing it retrobat emulation style, but I'd rather play it FPGA if I have to emulate the game.
Oh, for sure.
Because my copy of it is in storage, so can't play the classic version, unfortunately.
Oh, well.
Yep. Well, anyways, that's it. Be sure to check us out there. The Higgins Alley Patreon is going live, so Video Game Bullshit will also be published on there. You can join the Patreon for free, or support for a couple bucks, less than a cup of coffee a month. You can definitely support, and you can get early access to episodes, and we post tidbits in there and all the fun jazz that comes with the Patreon. So check that out, and we will catch you next time.
Later, guys.